Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Book Dragon Banter, a podcast where three aspiring writers talk all things books. We're fantasy-focused, but not exclusive. We chat about what tropes we love, what characters we love to hate, and everything in between. I am Zinzi Bree. Joining me are my co-hosts, Katherine and Sage. Welcome. And our lovely listeners who have stuck around. This is episode 4. Thank you for listening this far or coming back, or if you've just discovered us, welcome. I hope you've been enjoying so far. Today, our topic is, did marketing make you read it? And if you listen to a previous episode, we immediately had a yes, marketing did from Katherine. But we're going to get into it a little bit more. We're going to do some dissection on how effective marketing is. When marketing goes wrong, does that make you not want to read a book because it got controversial?
Book Dragon Banter is rated explicit.
If you're worried about spoilers, check the show notes below. However, if you don't mind spoilers, then please continue on and we'll just surprise you along the way.
Did marketing make you read it? Yes, blanket answer yes. Like, marketing does get me. Oh, reframe. For you guys, how do you pick your books? Do you go on bestseller lists? Do you go on social media and let something tickle your fancy? As a mood reader, I feel like I'm in the mood for romance. Is it that general? Or do you feel like I'm in the mood for a romance that is a one-bed trope, that is a enemies to lovers trope? How specific do you get if you're in your mood reading, narrowing down your field for your book choice? That was mostly aimed at Katherine because she's our proclaimed mood reader out of the three of us.
Yes, sometimes I do get that specific with my desires, but usually I have my TBR lists organized. And I can just go scroll through and be like, oh, okay, this one is fantasy set in some dark academia background in, I don't know, an alternate verse. Okay, great. That sounds like what I want right now. Whereas sometimes I'm like, I want a cute, cozy, non-fantasy about writers, which is what I've been reading this week. I typed I need something super relatable and super easy and super cute. So I looked through my list and I saw like how to murder for authors or something like that. And I was like, hell yeah. And it is fantastic.
Do you have your TBR organized? Is it written out in a spreadsheet? Is it...
I'm not that
Are you just going and asking Google what level of organization does your TBR have?
Yeah, so I don't organize my wish list on Amazon, but in my library app, I can add anything that's in the library. I have several library cards. I will add those to different lists, and I can create as many lists as I want in the library app. And there are some other things. I can go into Chirp or audiobooks.com or Google Play and find them, or Hoopla, something like that, but generally organize my lists in my library if they have that book. Otherwise, if I see it, I'll get it next time.
I'm also a mood reader in the sense that I base my next book choice a little bit on what I just read. So if I just read something really light and easy, then I might be ready for something more epic and world building intensive. Sometimes I love epic, but I sometimes don't have the brain power or wherewithal or time. I know that it's a busy week and I'm just not going to have the time to invest in getting to know the story right away. So I will go for something a little lighter. I actually have my TBR list handwritten in my journal, but I also have like an ongoing list of books on hold at the library for my e-reader. So to a certain degree, I'm waiting for books. Like whatever pops up that week is available, then I choose between those items. I have actually did a really nice job this time of color coding. I'm not usually this organized. I think I was probably supposed to be writing my book. And instead I decided to distract myself by taking all of my notes of different books I wanted to read and color coding them and writing like romantasy in one color and fantasy in another and mystery, horror, all these kinds of things. So that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is we will be seeing pictures of your handwritten TBR, color-coded, on our social media to share what that looks like.
100%.
Yes, please. One of the things about marketing that gets me is, and I consider the front cover to be a marketing tactic because it tells people what to expect about the book. And they say don't judge a book by the cover, but
Absolutely.
I
judge
am
your book by its cover.
attracted by the cover
Yes.
a lot of the time. So that's why
Yes.
I don't do handwritten notes or an Excel sheet or something like that, because when I'm in a mood and I don't know what I'm looking for half the time, it's going to be influenced by what I see visually on the cover of the book. So I have to go into my visual TBR of the books that I've saved somewhere and be like, oh, that one looks interesting. Okay, what's that about?
Seriously.
Yep. So I have here in my notes that there's an estimated 6,000 new books published a day.
Wow.
A day. 6,000
Wow.
globally. You have to have marketing. You have to have a beautiful cover to get noticed. If your competition is granted a bunch of different languages, but 6,000 a day, or I don't even have a further breakdown of like how many of those are in English or, a specific language to diversify that list further.
6,000 a day that's insane. I'm feeling overwhelmed by how many books I need to read.
Oh, so your TBR just looks like that giant line of dominoes that just went into the distance?
Yeah.
I saw a quote recently. It was, the only way I will get to the end of my TBR is if I'm dead.
I feel like I need that on a shirt.
Number one on my bucket list. So I have a life bucket list and then I have an internal bucket list, like places I want to go and things I want to do. But then really what it boils down to is the spot number one is finish my TBR before I die.
You can't add anything
can't.
onto it.
So it'd be one thing if you were limiting yourself. You're like, I must have read all of the books that I physically own in my possession in my home before I die. Like,
Can't do that.
yeah. But I'm saying that's the only way you can be successful at that. Otherwise, your TBR will always grow. There will always be more books as a lifelong reader until you're dead. The average American reads 12 books in a year, but the more accurate statistic is median, which is half of the population reads 4 books or less in a year.
That
The other
horrifies
half
me.
reads 4 or more, which, like, you're a big literacy advocate. So to know that half of the population reads 4 or less.
Yeah, I was just actually talking to my mom about this because she was working on, she has a middle grade novel and she wants to update it. And we were talking about what makes kids want to read these days. And I was like, you know what? Kids love Dogman. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dogman. It's a graphic novel that's full of like poop jokes. And I remember seeing a quote that mothers both love and hate Dogman because their kids are reading and they love that. And then what they're reading it's silly and funny, but your kids are reading, right? So how do you balance that?
Oh, I was going to say, how do we feel about the rise of graphic novels? Here we are.
Segue. That not on our bingo card for discussions, but I think the rise of graphic novels plays into the change in attention spans. It feels like there's been a lot of books that got popularity in mainstream, and they go from being a book to now there's a graphic novel version of the same story. Now there's a Netflix TV series of the same story. They've moved more into the visual areas of storytelling because so much of the next generations have been, and even my generation, have moved online, moved to quick forms of entertainment, have moved to, so this is something else I want to talk about, is the a la carte, like ordering, this is what I want, this is specifically what I want, and I want it now. And you can get that more immediately. And I think that's partly what's being used in marketing as far as why we see tropes to market books on social media. We're like, you're not telling me what the story is about. You're showing me a pretty cover and you're saying these 3 to 5 tropes that are in this book. And that's how it's being sold.
I actually have a bit of a pet peeve around this. So I feel like tropes have been talked about a lot in the last number of years. And obviously they've existed for a very long time. But it's almost like books are being written to the trope instead of the story that's maybe coming more from the heart, from the imagination, but that my book has to be enemies to lovers and these other tropes and found family and some kind of super elf thing. And then it has to hit some kind of plot structure. And it all just starts to feel so formulaic. And part of that I do think is marketing. It's okay, now we can market this book as being the next Sarah J. Maas lookalike or the next version of the Hunger Games or whatever was just popular. Now here's the new thing of it. And so by following those tropes, it's easier to elevate your story marketing wise, but I get so bored of it's so predictable. Okay, I love a good enemies to lovers story, but when it's clear that's what it is or it's told to me straight up front, I don't enjoy the story as much. When marketing tells you exactly what to expect, I'm no longer surprised by the story. It's, oh yeah, here you go. I did just start reading Silver Elite because of marketing hype and also because a friend of mine was asking me if I had read it yet. And then I read a review of it that kind of panned it. When people have a lot to say about a book that's not always positive, it kind of makes me want to read it just to see, really, do I agree or whatever? And it feels a little bit predictable. I feel like we're trending in that direction more with mainstream promotion stuff.
Okay, so I want to go into this. I'll pull it off my shelf. Prior to planning this podcast, I had decided I was going to try out Book of the Month. My opinion is I'm still deciding if I like it. But in the first month that I had joined, this was their book, okay? We are talking about Silver Elite by Dani Francis. And they teased it by going, this is our deluxe limited edition sprayed edge. The cover is black and silver, and I'm saying this because we will have audio listeners that don't actually get to see me displaying the cover. And knowing nothing about the book other than there was magic powers, so I assumed fantasy. I didn't even know dystopian until later. This was one of my picks for that month. And I do have to say, this is a really eye-catching, pretty cover, in my opinion. I just got to chapter 15, so I am like a third. I'm this far, this much into this book. So still very beginning. So I can't give my full opinion on it yet. Stick it back here. But I did want to say, like, the marketing got me. The big push from Book of the Month, the sprayed edges. I probably shouldn't have been put that away before I went, oh, by the way, Silver Elite, which I know there was a big controversy, not specifically on the content of the book necessarily, but on Dani Francis's being a pen name, not knowing, is the book AI written? Is it written by a guy who needed to assume a feminine pen name for the purposes of marketing and selling? And there was also, as a writer, some controversy in that this book blew up because marketing pushed it, because the publishers decided, we're going to back this. We're going to get behind this. We're going to spend money on it and send it out to book influencers and get it in front of people, excellently marketed. But I don't know if that creates longevity. Even though I purchased the book, even though I think the outside is pretty, I'm not normally a dystopian reader. All of the controversy around it, if Sage hadn't been like, I'm going to read it so we can talk about it on the podcast, I probably would have just quietly taken it off my shelf and give it away without bothering to read it. Because I'm the opposite of Sage. There's a bunch of controversy. Oh, people are panning this. I'm not going to go, oh, I'm going to go read it and see if their opinions are wrong. I'm going to go, they're probably right. I have other books I'm more excited about. So sometimes marketing can backfire. If you make a choice to do something that's controversial, sure, it gets that book's title into the air, into people talking about it. But there's just as much a chance of it getting to readers like me where it's going to go, no, that's going to turn me off. I don't want to touch that now. By the way, Sage, have you finished it yet? How far into it are you?
No, I haven't. I probably would never have read it if I hadn't had my friend ask me about it. And she and I talk about Fourth Wing and Sarah J. Maas and that level of books. I'll give it a try. And it showed up it was like on my holds list when it popped up.
Good timing.
I am maybe 25% of the way through. I don't know that I'm going to keep reading it. It feels like I was saying, it's very predictable and I kind of see what's coming. And I have other books that I would rather read. My TBR is really long. I also am a book reviewer, so I have a list of books that I have to read for work. I read 3 to 4 books a month for work. And then I try and fit in my own books from my TBR,
Pleasure
which
reading?
is a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. Occasionally they overlap, but a lot of the books I read as a book reviewer are actually the books that are popular on social media. They are getting huge and a lot of teenagers are reading them, and I'm asked to review something because of that. So I end up reading stuff that I wouldn't normally read. I don't know that I will keep reading Silver Elite. I do really like dystopian, but I like dystopian when it feels very message driven. We talked about it in the romance episode. I don't care the romance unless it's a really well done subplot. And honestly, at this point, they're all feeling very similar. All the romanticities, it's like the characters feel very similar, and I want something a little different these days. So good chance that I will not finish.
Oh, I'm listening to it as an audiobook, and I am enjoying the audiobook. I'm listening to it at least at 1.5 speed, I think. So I'm getting through it pretty quick. And I probably will finish it. I haven't gotten annoyed enough with that there is a lot of, oh gosh, he's hot. I hate myself for liking that he's hot, but I can't control the fact that I think he's hot. And I don't like that. It's annoying. I don't.
Yep.
If I could choose, instead of having trigger warnings should be, in my opinion, in the front of books. It's nice to have trigger warnings that are vague.
Yes.
I do not want a fan fiction AO3, everything is tagged, everything is tropes, you know exactly what you're getting into in my trigger warnings. But I would love, as a person who doesn't always enjoy the spice, a contents list of, hey, here's the pages where the spice is that has nothing to do with the story, if it's that kind of book.
Yeah.
Because some of them are. And so I can just know when I get to that page number, here's the author's next page to skip to. Like, here's the spice. Stop here. Skip to this page if you want to read the story without spice. I want that in the opening of my books. Can we have a website that is the skip the smut, skip the spice as a website?
Or maybe we should make that, or choose to skip those pages or just read those pages, depending on your preference.
Maybe this would be something that would get me canceled. But I would consider, I'm going to write the clean version of the book, and that's what I'm going to publish.
Oh.
But if you really want the spicy version, I will have that as an ebook or a deluxe edition or something behind a paywall. It's unlikely that I'm going to write that into my cozy rom-com fantasy. My brain definitely plays those scenes out while I'm thinking about my characters and the world building. It's there. I could write it. But it's not, those aren't relevant to the plot for me because they're not romance first stories. They're plot first.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make it necessary, which is why I'd be like, hey, if you really want that, if you love these characters that much, paywall. Sorry, not sorry. I have bills to pay, guys.
That reminds me of the Patreon things for people who do the webcomics, like in Tapas and things like that. And they're like, okay, if you want the NSFW, then go to my Patreon. And then, you also have to click buttons like, hey, I'm 18 or older and things like that. But it does kind of bring us back to tropes and like how people identify the tropes on things. When you guys were deciding to read Silver Elite, was it just because it was in the book of the month or because of all the hype online? Was it like one of those trope pictures that we see?
I have not seen a picture for Silver Elite. I picked it up because it was hyped up on Book of the Month, and it was done. I will commend Book of the Month for its marketing. They do a good job of teasing what the book is about. The author, in an interview, and this is what spurred some of the controversy, was that, I wanted a book that was in a dystopian setting or like the Hunger Games, but with adults and sex. And that I learned about after I had already purchased the book. If I had known that, I wouldn't have gotten it. Because it's just, those are not the things that attract me to a story.
And I think that the reason I'm reading it, Hunger Games is so dear to my heart. I think that Hunger Games, reading that was the book that got me wanting to write again. I had done a lot of writing when I was younger and never followed through to finishing a manuscript, but reading that really reincited that desire, and I started doing more writing again after that. And there's a lot that I really love in Hunger Games, how there is a look at media's influence on violence and society and power and all of that. I have a media literacy background. I worked in the film industry for a long time, and so that resonated with me quite a lot. So when I heard that this book was being likened to the Hunger Games, but with adults with sex, that was not making me want to read it, except that the association with the Hunger Games, I was like, okay, what does that look like? Could you do that well and actually have that depth of meaning? Or are we just taking a story that is super popular, people love it, using that as our reason or comp? So are we using this as a title just to get people to buy it? So I was kind of curious if there was the dystopian meaning in the book, in which case adding some adult sex scenes hits another audience level that maybe isn't going to be interested in reading The Hunger Games.
It's interesting because I think one of the reasons why I like retellings is because I want to know what unique spin the author brings to it. Have a comp so strongly referred to. It's The Hunger Games, but with these things, that's a really strong comparison. I would wonder how they did it. And so that, out of anything you guys have said so far, piques my curiosity, just simply to see if it is unique, what their unique take on this world and everything is. And now, of course, you guys aren't very far into it, and both of you are kind of like, so maybe I won't. We'll see.
In the 1/3 of the book that I have gotten through, I keep having the thought, this is a dystopian Fourth Wing.
Huh.
It is not close to The Hunger Games. It is much closer story structure so far. The thrown into the military fairly early into the story. This is the very first time that I have read a main character that is a sharpshooter that has a gun. They're not calling them magic powers, they're mutant powers. So maybe the better comp would have been like a dystopian Fourth Wing with X-Men characters.
Okay.
No dragons.
No dragons.
Aw.
So if you see a book everywhere, if you feel like it's constantly talked about, whether controversial or not, does that turn you off? Do you go, I don't really want to read that because everybody's reading that. I'll go find something else.
Yeah, it depends for me. Okay.
Or do you suffer from FOMO?
I do. I suffer from FOMO, especially when I would love to be able to talk about the books. Like, I haven't read Silver Elite, and so I'd love to be able to talk about it. But also, I kind of getting your 2 cents before I commit my time to it. That said, books like that, it's been out for only a couple of months, and it's got 60,000 reviews and things like that. And that tells me that a big publisher has put most of their marketing into this one book so that they can make big bank and move on to the next thing. But that also means that whatever other books they have agreed to promote and market are not getting the same budget that book is, that other one is.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily bad in the sense that as a business person, you put your money where you're going to make the money. But as an author, if I were one of the other ones that was recently signed and I was really hoping for a bigger cut of the marketing budget for May, June, and July, then to see my publishing company only promoting this one book, does that make it bad? Not necessarily, but I do have complicated feelings about it. I'm not seeing other books from this publisher. I know that there are some getting swept under the rug and authors that are missing out on the potential that marketing could have brought them. And so authors out there, take note, if you are doing self-publishing or hybrid publishing and things like that, there are ways to climb the lists and get out there. You just have to push it. And sometimes that does mean some financial commitment, just like probably what's going on behind the scenes with Silver Elite.
I get a little frustrated by the marketing because I feel like the book industry, I mean, it makes sense because of money, but it's similar to Hollywood in my mind, where it's the same movies are getting made and promoted and all the money is being spent on making whatever is a safe bet. So you promote with books, you promote the trope, you promote the comp titles. This is the new Fourth Wing, this is the new whatever. And like you said, Katherine, like those other titles that maybe are better books or somebody would enjoy reading because it's different than everything else that's out there are getting swept under the rug. I don't want every book to be kind of the same. Yes, if I am looking for a quick read, something easy where it's just like a no-brainer to dive into is one thing. But generally, I want to be like challenged by my books. I want to read something unique. I want to feel the passion that the author had. I don't want to wonder if it was written by AI. If I actually think it's something I will enjoy, then yes, but I won't read it just because it's popular.
I want to go to something that happened at the beginning of this year where there were publishers that had decided to move away from book blurbs, where they weren't like on their covers.
Yeah.
They weren't going forward going to try and sell a book because another author recommended it. I think that has to do with social media now taking the place of needing an author's opinion to sell a book. If I pick up a book and I have this beautiful cover and I have these sprayed edges and I have a quote from a book. Now, granted, this is a book that I already loved and that's why I hunted it down. I don't want to see another author's opinion. Like, that would ruin a cover as beautiful as this. Even, let's see, if I go over to Fourth Wing here, which I don't have a special fancy edition. I think this is just from Costco. It's got a quote. It's got part of the book on the back, which I prefer those. If I'm going to look at a shelf of books and go, that's a pretty cover, it's got dragons on it, okay, I'm going to check what's the writing style, what's going on in the back of the book, and it has a quote from the book that's intriguing, or it actually has part of the book back there that's a significant moment. I'm going to prefer that over, I've seen books that I pick it up and the back of it is 6 other authors, great authors I've read, saying, this book was great, I love this. And the skeptic in me, I would like as a writer to believe that these authors, yes, thank you. Yeah. Oh, the Night Circus had it.
Oh, yeah.
I love the Night Circus, but I hate that.
Different versions have different advertising tactics. They probably try a bunch of different things. But yeah, here's a version of that. Whereas here's a version of a Peter and the Starcatchers book where
that's just beautiful.
It's just beautiful. End of story.
I agree that I think this has to do with like social media marketing and the change in marketing for books, because it used to be that the way you promoted a book, they'd be at the bookstore and there would be advertisements in magazines, which we don't really have that anymore. Or you might have something like Oprah's book club or Reese Witherspoon's book club, and those promote books. But back in the day, you might see a thriller by an author you didn't know who it was, and it has a quote by Stephen King, and that gives a little validity. I generally would not choose a book based on the author blurb. I'd much rather read like a synopsis, or like you said, I'll open the book up and read a little section of it to see if I like the writing style.
When I go to the library, I will go in, look at a book, go, okay, covers got me, titles got me, art style, whatever that, signals certain things about the kind of book that it's going to be. And then I will open it, and library books have a story summary that has like a skeleton blurb, a bare bones, this is what the story is about, 1 or 2 sentences. And I will choose to read the book based on that just little library required sentence. And a thought that I didn't finish is, did the authors actually read the book when they gave that? Yeah. And did they get paid to read that? Now, I don't think that they did. I think it was genuinely, it's a small enough world, especially if you're in a similar genre, being traditionally published, where a lot of them are friends. So they're reading their friends' books and they're giving a recommendation on their friend's book. Like, that's more likely to be the thing than pay happening, or the editor is going, hey, I'm friends with this author, or I'm an agent and I agent these 5 authors. Can I get them to read each other's and recommend? Some of that is probably going on. But before I was like, did they actually read it, or were they paid to read it and give a good opinion? And I think that now has since moved to book influencers. I would hope that more often than not, they've actually read the book that they're hyping up. But I can imagine ones that are big, that are influential enough, maybe not all the time, there is a level of skepticism in me, and maybe it's just I don't know enough. How much of that is paid? How much of that should be paid? Because I do believe that it is service and it should be paid. Like Sage, you do reviews that are for Common Sense Media, and I absolutely believe you should be paid for your time to read the book and review it. But you're not giving an opinion on this is a good book, I enjoyed it. You're giving this is what the content is.
I do both. I do report back on content, which is from a objective standpoint. It's just very much like this level of violence, this specific type of violence, this specific type of language, these positive messages, this amount of diversity in character, and a synopsis of what the book is about without spoilers. I also give a short description of the book and I rate it. I'm required to rate it on a 5-star rating, which is the hardest part for me, especially since I can't give like half points.
Yeah.
It is hard for me to rate things. Like, I'm generally a positive person and I don't like to say bad things, but I'll say if I didn't enjoy the book, I will try and do constructive criticism around it. So I'm not just slamming books. When I write a opinion part of my review, I'm very much trying to analytically explain why I did or didn't like it. Did the characters fall a little too flat and that's why I didn't enjoy it? Or did I just not enjoy it because that's not my type of book because I'm assigned the books? Or did I not enjoy it because technically there was problems? And that's more what I base my work on. I do get free books which is fun. And I read stuff that I wouldn't ordinarily read. So like I read a bunch of Emily Henry books because they've been popular on TikTok. And I don't read a ton of romance. And I don't read a lot of contemporary romance, but she wrote some really beautiful, fun books. And I was happy that I got a chance to read those, I read like middle grade books and stuff too. So it's a gamut for sure. I was under the impression that the book blurbs or the reviews by authors were paid and that was like a side income for well-known authors. I could be wrong about that.
Listeners, if you're let us know. Is this something that do you have to sign NDAs? Like, I also feel like depending on how early you see a manuscript, what version are they reading even? Is it a beta? Is it in its ARC form?
I have done ARC reading and I haven't been paid for that.
There are paid ARCs too, though, but paid ARCs tend to assume that or at least the author is hoping that it'll be a positive ARC.
I did feel a little bit of pressure on the ARCs reading that I did. One was for a friend and it was a lovely book, but I did feel like a little bit of, hopefully I don't hate the book.
Yeah, there are a lot of ARC readers who won't post about a book they don't like, and like they contractually say not to post about it. That doesn't mean I didn't read it. It just means that I couldn't respectfully give my opinion and feel good about giving it.
That's a better response than being, I was sent this as an ARC and I hated it. Don't bother. How awful is that?
It's
I don't want to.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I don't like any of the posts or videos that are, I read 60 books so far this year and here are my DNFs.
Yeah.
It's just negativity.
Which feeds the algorithm.
Yeah. I would be interested to know if our listeners are likely to read Silver Elite based on our own talking about it, which is in a form, I realized we were kind of marketing the book and about it so much. Listeners, if you do end up picking up the book and reading it, let us know what you think.
The books that we recommend specifically at the end, those are ones that my whole heart is behind this. I fully recommend this. Please read it. Please, because I want to meet you in person and fan together over this book. That is part of the love of books. And being in the book community, being in fandom is shared passion. That's one of the best things about it. So I want to read more books other people are reading and gushing about them.
I have another point about marketing tactics. So I did say that marketing will make me buy it sometimes. It just depends on my mood and what I'm looking for. And I thought about it, and I think my third point there is my level of decision fatigue. So if I really want to go and browse and choose something for myself that I'm really going to love, that is it doesn't spoil anything for me, it doesn't give me all the tropes up front, I will do that. However, if I just want something to read right now that hits a certain button and I see a trope graphic, it's got this and that and whatever in it in the graphic, then I'll be like, yeah, okay, sounds good. That hits it for now. And then I save on some decision fatigue. And also, there's that element when it comes to author blurbs and book awards and things like that lends credibility to the book too. I'm like, oh, okay, quality enough that they're willing to put their name on it, that they're willing, even if they're paid or whatever, they're willing to have their name stamped on this, that book was worth it, then I do see that as credibility. So I won't be turned off by that necessarily, but I do prefer for the book information to be about the book itself. I would rather from the author on the back of the book than to read, Publishers Weekly and USA Today. I think for me, though, when I do choose the hyper-marketed books that use all of the trope graphics and whatnot, is decision fatigue. Sometimes I just don't want to have to decide. I just want to say, that'll satisfy.
I feel like so many of my book choices are based on word of mouth, and I'm now realizing that I was sitting at seeing a play and the women next to me were talking about Fourth Wing. And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And they might have found out about it because of marketing hype or social media. So it's like secondhand marketing made me read it.
Yeah. I mean, that if you get a book just out there in front of enough people that it's being talked about positive or negatively, that awareness is in a book economy that has 6,000 new books a day to compete with. Isn't that why they say any marketing is good marketing?
Yeah.
So I read The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, which was controversially marketed as a Dramamine, not Dramamine, that's a medicine. Dramyne.
Oh, okay. Like a Draco and Hermione.
Yes, Draco and Hermione book.
Okay.
And now that I've read it and seen some other opinions out there about it, and I read it on launch day because I had read the fan fiction Brigitte Knightley had previously written and is still available on AO3, which is Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love. And I loved that. But it absolutely, for character development, relies on the previously established relationship between Draco and Hermione in the Harry Potter books. There isn't a good way to take that one and take out the Harry Potter elements and separate it well enough for it to stand on its own and be reskinned, versus two other books that are also being published this year that are also Draco and Hermione previous fan fictions. One is Rose in Chains, which was previously titled The Auction on AO3, and the other one is Alchemized, which was previously Manacled. And I read Manacled specifically because I wanted to know, one FOMO got me. I was hearing about it all the time. But also, I plan to read Alchemized because I want to see how the author makes me care about Hermione and Draco now that they would no longer be Hermione and Draco. There's so much work that an author has to put into making you care about your characters. And if you take away all of the effort from the other books, that the fan fiction allows that depth of character. And Alchemized, it's a big hefty book. Manacled is over 1,000 pages long. But going back to The Irresistible Urge to Fall in Love with Your Enemy, I read that and it is enjoyable. It is a fun read. The banter is great. There are lots of things that I love about Brigitte Knightley's writing style, but the characters are shallow, not in that they're shallow people, but there isn't a depth to them. There was so much effort on the banter and the fun, and I did enjoy the effort she put into her world building. There's a glossary of terms at the beginning. There's a map. There's hey, these are the different orders that exist in this book to explain the magic. It's a fully magical setting. It doesn't have the muggle and wizard world separation. But Orion and Osric, those are the main couple, like, they're enjoyable, but they're only likable to me from the context that they are Draco and Hermione. They're not Draco and Hermione copycats because there are some differences, but that they're modeled after Draco and Hermione. Like, that's the only way that makes them more likable, because you're going, oh, I'm waiting for this character trait to show up from that perception. And in the marketing, they put out that they're Draco and Hermione. And part of that is to snag, because that's like a massive fandom, subset fandom of those characters that's loved. But I think also that took some of the labor off of the author to have put in more effort to ground those characters. Mm-hmm. Now, I will also say that is the first book in a duology, and I will read the second one.
You know, that's a very interesting point, and it makes me think about a series I recently read based on word of mouth recommendations was the Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I adored it. I thought it was so well done, and I loved the depth of the relationship and character that the author was able to bring into the characters who, outside of this book, seemed very different. That said, the location that the author picks up at for these two characters is right after all of the time or during the final year. It does come through if you've read Harry Potter before, you will see the exact references here. So I am wondering if I hadn't read Harry Potter Once Upon a Time, but if I hadn't read it, if I wasn't familiar with the books or the movies, would I still feel like those characters have the depth prior to where the book starts? I do think that the author builds character into the characters as we go really well, but we're still coming at it knowing that they had all this time at school.
That's a good point. I also read the Carry On series and very much enjoyed it, but I had read Harry Potter before, and so I can't speak to that part of it. I will say that there's often books where you're kind of set into the middle of a relationship where there is a lot of past history between the characters. It's not like they're meeting for the first time on the page. So,
But that past history is explored, right? Like in the context of the story, eventually it's explored versus that
that's
wasn't
a good
explored
point.
well, or the enemies to lovers portion in The Irresistible Urge had, oh, he's an assassin, I'm a healer, so I should hate him.
Yeah.
That's not a well-developed enemies to begin with, versus a story where he's an assassin and he assassinated my uncle. He assassinated a person that I loved. Maybe a person that I loved that was doing bad things I didn't know about, but you were actively my enemy until this reveal happens later. That's a better enemies to lovers. That's my preferred enemies to lovers kind of scenario.
Yeah. I just read an enemies to lovers that was actually really good.
Title?
Okay, so I just read Heartless Hunter followed by Rebel Witch. And so it's a duology, and it was really good. There is an element to the development of the relationship I wish that there had been more to, but I also understand that this was trad published, I believe, and they had a word count for the genre convention to adhere to. But essentially, I wanted there to be more discussion and forgiveness and apologies based on what made them enemies in the first place. But the author did explain it well enough to help me connect with each character. Both of the characters totally understood throughout the development of their relationship where the other was coming from, and they could have compassion for why they ended up on opposite sides of this conflict in the story. So I do recommend it, highly recommend it. Most humans don't really mind, I think, when there's not a huge apology scene. But me, as a human myself, I'd be like, no, you gotta make things right with me before we can move forward. I just wanted a little bit more. But it was excellent. Enemies to lovers, done well. Heartless Hunter and Rebel Witch.
That's some last name that I cannot pronounce. But I can picture the covers in my head because the covers are really pretty. I'm looking through my list of discussion stuff, and there were other things. I almost want to do a second part to this because there were absolutely more things that I wanted to talk about.
So my recommendation for this week is Graceling by Kristen Kishore. It is a lovely story that I listened to the audiobook from, not knowing really anything about it, but it is fantasy with a romance subplot and really great characters, really cool world building. The first there's a bunch of books set in the same world, but not with necessarily always the same characters. So you don't have to read a whole trilogy. If you just want to read this one as a standalone, totally can. Highly recommend.
I've read that series. It is really good.
My recommendation is I got because of marketing only, and it was Apprentice to the Villain, and I was not disappointed.
Apprentice to the Villain is so fun.
Yes.
These recommended reads, yours is marketing, Katherine. Marketing got you for yours, but for Sage and mine, we're doing the throwback books trend. So Sage and I are throwbacks. And this is not like a fancy cover. This is secondhand from the Free Little Library, but it is The Blue Sword by Robin McKinley. I also really highly recommend the audiobook. This is YA fantasy romance subplot. And it is, oh gosh, my memories of it are very vivid as far as setting. The magic is it's present but subtle. It's not this big superpowers thing, but more mythical feeling. And there is a book that goes before it that is The Hero and the Crown, but you can absolutely read them separately. There's just, if you read that one first, then you'll see a couple of little scattered references in The Blue Sword. The main character, Harry Crew, there might be a little bit of a chosen one going on with this because she becomes the heady mad soul, King's Rider. It's delightful. The Robin McKinley, she's one of my favorite authors. Her writing is so beautiful. All right. Where can you find us on social media?
You can find us on social media platforms. You can see them linked below.
Our next book club is coming up, and if you want to grab the book and read along, the book is For She Is Wrapped by Emily Varga, and I hope that you enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm really excited because it's the magical retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm
excited
very
for it.
excited, but I have not started reading it yet.
We are still a baby podcast. We would love if you would rate and review. Those stars really help our next episode to be titled. It doesn't have a title yet, but we will be discussing reading challenges, seasonal reads, being a mood reader, book bingo, something I came across recently that I'm excited to research and dig into, which is the hardest reading challenge you will ever do. And it looks insane, but I'm very excited. We will be discussing that next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.
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 And here are your bloopers, which might just be cat sounds. Just Catherine's
The cat
sounds.
fight and the dogs barking.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Trying to remember.
She was being so talkative.
Aw. Well,
No, she's talking at me. She just, when I respond and ask her what she wants, she just looks at me like, how come you don't understand?
Us dumb humans, why can't we speak animal?
I don't know. You'd think by now we'd have it figured out. My cat
Yeah.
finds herself. She's curled up with a plushie here. Adorable.
Man, I'm weirdly nervous again. I wasn't. Last time I was just like, ooh, this is fun. I wasn't nervous.
it's weird, like not nervous, and then you're like, I'm going to hit record, and I'm like, no, I'm nervous.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Book Dragon Banter. This is a podcast where we, the three of us, Katherine, Sage, wow, great. This is why I warm up my voice beforehand so I can spiel and not just stumble over things. Do another take. Yep.
Take two. Okay, we're all having a
You got
moment
it.
today, aren't we?
Mhm.
Yeah. You know what? It's okay.
Now I'm covering my
That's-
picture so I don't stare at myself. I was
I
like
am-
making sure I'm centered and everything so that I can just not look at myself again.
Yeah, I hopefully have gotten my camera to a good spot for eye contact. Less talking off here and more talking into here.
I'm just going not to move as much.
But it's so fun.
It is fun.
We're all very different people.
I'm going to move more.
Sadly, I did not do my usual singing warm-up stuff, so I can't even tell my
Oh.
voice is. You're not fully awake and
What's your warm up? We'll do it together.
lubricated. What? No, I told you guys before it was just I would turn on Taylor Swift or I would turn on whatever. Although right now I have stuck in my head K-pop Demon Hunters
I don't know that.
music
I mean,
That's
I know
on my
that, but I
list.
don't know the music.
from Netflix.
Is it good?
I'd recommend it. It's fun. All the music is very earwormy, so be prepared. It might be the new obsession. It feels a little bit like when Frozen and everybody was into singing Let It Go.
I won't tell my cute side story.
Oh,
Really
please
fast?
tell your...
Okay.
Yes.
My
please.
family, the other night, we were hanging out and we decided to play, we were playing music, all the four of us. We decided to play our guilty pleasure song and played those. So my son, who's like 12, his guilty pleasure song was the one that Kristoff sings in Frozen 2. The like love
Lost in the Woods.
I love that so much.
We need a name for our... it's not our dragon babies.
Hatchlings.
Hatchlings. Hey, so if you have a suggestion for what the Book Dragon Banter fans should be called, put them in the comments. So let us know what you would like, or we'll just maybe have a bloopers where we're spitballing what we'll call you guys. All of our gems, treasures.
Tribe. Cohorts. Horde.
Nestling. What's
Shoot.
the flockins
Our-
called? Horde?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a flight of dragons. Come be our flight.
Okay.
It's
Oh.
called a thunder.
Ooh, a thunder of dragons?
Uh-huh.
Man, that's
Ooh.
awesome. Come be our
That is
thunder.
Well, I asked
You
Google,
are our
so,
thunder.
You know,
Ah, Google can't be wrong. Listeners, tell us in the comments. Do you want to be
a flight,
Thunder.
a horde, a thunder,
our thunder?
or hatchling.
Thunder dragon. It's like a murder of crows. I think thunder's cool.